Hey guys, it's Mr. Mabini here, and we're doing my full field 22 Supercars predictions. But I'm doing it a bit differently this time because I've changed the way that I do my Supercars videos. I've decided to do these predictions a bit differently, following on from what I did in my mid-pack thoughts video. So I'm going through top to bottom order of results, but maybe not talking about the drivers too much, and I'm probably about to contradict myself. The team's champions, I expect Dick Johnson Racing to win the team's championship. It's probably pretty obvious why I would think that. Triple Eight have got one less top driver, and no one expects Brock Feeney to come in and try to win the championship in his first year. It's just not going to happen. There's a lot of other drivers who've been doing it for a lot longer, so it's not going to happen, which means Triple Eight are going to be pretty much driving one-handed until Brock gets up to the level that he needs to be at, and Triple Eight will be throwing everything at him to make it happen. So, team's champions, Dick Johnson Racing. They've got Anton, who will have learned a lot from that first year, where he was mostly hampered by technical failures with the car, but also some of his own personal mistakes on the track, like that crash at Bathurst. Things that just shouldn't have happened. He's fast, and he's out to make up for it, so I think that Anton will actually win the Drivers' Championship as well. Will Davison is a very good driver as well, but I don't think that he's going to beat Anton. And I would be surprised if Shane Van Gisbergen doesn't beat him. And there's no major changes for DJR either, so they're just rolling in with the same thing that they did last year and just fine-tuning those little mistakes. So Triple Eight Race Engineering will be second in 2022. Shane Van Gisbergen will lead for them. Win races, pole positions, expectations are pretty straightforward for the lead driver at Triple Eight. And I've already talked about Brock Feeney. Their changes are rookie driver for Brock Feeney and all new driver lineup. So they've got Andrew Edwards and Martin Short as their new engineers. Andrew Edwards is the only one that's new to Triple Eight. Then third is Walkinshaw and Andretti United, which I think there's a lot of excitement about that team. And it's hard not to be, because you're taking out a driver who wasn't quite matching his teammate, not at all matching his teammate. And so the car was better, and the team really needed to have both cars up there, so that's what they've done. New driver in Nick Percat, and new engineer in Jeff Slater. And I expect Chaz Mostert to lead the team. I think Chaz, maybe because he's been at the front of the field a lot longer, been at bigger teams, he's just more comfortable at WAU, so it's a pretty straightforward expectation to have Chaz beat Nick. And Nick has already outlined his expectations of, if he can just keep up with Chaz, then that'll be a good thing for him. And if he can do that, then they should be third in the championship, in the team's championship. Fourth is Tickford Racing. Normally they're third, but I'm expecting them to get knocked off by WAU in 2022. And it's a pretty straightforward reason why. They've got two new drivers, one of them is a rookie and one of them is a young up-and-comer. Cameron Waters I expect to lead the charge. They have their senior driver in terms of most experience in James Courtney. I really hate saying it and I hate thinking it, but I think Thomas Randall is going to beat James Courtney in the championship, and I wish it just wouldn't happen, because when I look at these older drivers and watch as they get shown up by their teammates, I keep wondering, is it because the teammate's younger? What is it? And it's the age-old question, I guess. You're never going to be really sure. The younger drivers are hungrier. That could be it. Thomas Randall's got a lot to prove. He's done a very good job with his wildcards. So I'm just going with my gut feeling. And I wish James Courtney was leading the charge for Tickford, because he's the series champion. And the other one's Jake Kostecki, and while Jake Kostecki did do a good job with Matt Stone Racing, I don't expect him to beat any of his teammates at Tickford. So we've got the 2 new drivers and also new engineers. Thomas Randall has the same engineer that he had with his wildcards. There are 2 new engineers in terms of regular race engineers at Tickford. Thomas Randall has Raymond Lau and Jake Kostecki has Reese Lanigan. James Courtney has got a new engineer in Sam Scafidi, who has been a race engineer as a regular for the team over the last 3 years. Erebus Motorsport will be 5th. I expect Will Brown to lead over Brody Kostecki. And they haven't made any major changes, so 5th in the team's championship for Erebus Motorsport. 6th is Team 18. I expect Mark Winterbottom to beat Scott Pye. I think a lot of people expect Scott Pye to beat Mark Winterbottom because of that first year as a 2-car team. Scott got the podiums, Mark didn't. And Scott has a new engineer in Richard Holway, who has been the technical director of Team 18. Phil Keed's gone back to Brad Jones Racing. So I think a bit of a problem for Team 18 is having a lot of big positions, but not a lot of the right. They've put Richard Holway as Scott Pye's engineer so that he can do his overall job better by having a direct involvement with one of the cars, a more direct role. So he'll be there every race weekend in the same sort of way that Ludo Lacroix is the sporting director or something like that. He's also Anton De Pasquale's engineer. So having somebody who's at the top and also at the ground level, they can have a much more direct impact and a direct understanding of what's going on with the team. So that's probably what they've done. But still, Mark Winterbottom will have the same engineer for the 3rd year in a row, which is very good for him. Back in the Irwin car, back with Manuel Sanchez, and so it's just rolling on. Same thing. He just needs to get more, and that's all he has to do. So I expect him to do better than Scott Pye. 7th is Brad Jones Racing. Andre Heimgartner will probably lead the charge. Bryce Fullwood a little bit behind him. And even though Macaulay Jones and Jack Smith are more experienced at Brad Jones Racing, I just don't expect them to beat Andre and Bryce. And maybe that's having my expectations too low, but and maybe that's the obvious bias, is we just haven't seen Macca beat any of his previous teammates at Brad Jones Racing, and the only time we've seen Macca be beaten by Jack Smith is last year, and that was probably just because Macca kept crashing and having technical issues and stuff like that. I expect Andre to lead, Bryce behind him, Macca 3rd, and Jack behind at the back. So 2 new drivers in Andre and Bryce, but I still expect them to be up the front in what is generally known to be the best car, and then the second best car, and then the other 2 are pretty much the same. 1 new engineer for Bryce. Andre has the same engineer that Todd had, and obviously the team needed a new engineer for one of the cars because Andrew Edwards left for Triple Eight. 8th in the team's championship is Grove Racing. I expect David Reynolds to beat Lee Holdsworth in the team in the drivers' championship. And Lee is a new driver for the team, and also he has a new engineer in Will Davidson. I think everybody is flipping out a little bit over that, having Lee Holdsworth and Will Davidson, well, mainly the Will Davidson bit. Everyone's probably enjoying that a lot, and Lee certainly says that he is. So it's gonna be interesting and good for the team, but I expect that David Reynolds will just be able to continue doing well as he did the previous year. 9th is Matt Stone Racing, who have swapped both of their drivers. Jake Kostecki's gone to Tickford, and Zane Goddard has, his management instructed him to leave Matt Stone Racing, which in my opinion was a mistake. Todd Hazelwood and Jack Lebrock are two regulars at this stage. They're both fifth-year drivers, and Hazelwood's been at the team before, so I expect Todd to be leading out of the two of those. And the engineers are from same as from last year, with Jack Bellotti engineering Todd Hazelwood, and Chris Stuckey engineering Jack Lebrock. Last in the team's championship, Premier Racing. It's a new team buying as Peter Ziberis bought out Team Sydney, and I expect Gary Jacobson to beat Chris Pither, mainly because Jacobson has been in the championship every year since 2019, while Chris has only been in one previous year, and they're both hungry for results, and I think that a big problem. I think a lot of people don't have big expectations, but also are pretty excited. I'm very excited about this new team, and Peter Ziberis putting his money where his mouth is, upgrading the cars and trying to find the best people that he can and making these things happen. It's one to watch, but there's so many great operations in the championship that it's just safe to say that Premier will be last. Last in the team's championship, only because it's a one-car team, is Blanchard Racing Team. But I expect Tim Slade to be sort of mid-pack, somewhere near where he finished 12th on the championship last year, but maybe not as much because they have a new engine supplier. Not very high expectations for them, and it will be very interesting to see how they manage the new engine and chassis relationship between those. So those are my expectations and predictions for 2022, and it's going to be very exciting and a very competitive season. I can't think of a team that really belongs higher than one another, but I have decided on a pecking order, obviously. So yeah, if you've got any thoughts about it, definitely put a comment down. Thank you.